You are listening to Swamp Things, a podcast about University of Florida sports with the Orlando Sentinel's Edgar Thompson and the AP's Mark Long. Edgar and Mark discuss the goings-on with the Gators in Gainesville, where each is a longtime resident who has seen championship success, coaching turmoil, and plenty of drama on and off the field.
Greetings and welcome to Swamp Things, a podcast about the Florida Gators. It's November 25th, 2025. I'm Edgar Thompson of the Orlando Sentinel, joined by Mark Long of the Associated Press. I tell you, I'm feeling a little nervy today, Mark, for some reason. Don't want to choke on the pod. But I tell you, man, this Lane Kiffin drama, it's coming to a head. We're all, on edge, waiting for this decision. I mean, this isn't LeBron's decision quite, but it's feeling pretty big. And it's just nonstop, relentless. I spoke at a Gator club last night down in DeLand, and everyone's on edge there. And I mean, rumors are just flying, speculation. Somebody is going to be in a few days, Saturday, right? Post Egg Bowl. Mississippi plays at Mississippi State Friday at noon, and Lane Kiffin will announce a decision on Saturday. He's just going to blow up college football on Saturday, right? You got all these great games, this awesome weekend, and he's going to suck all the oxygen out of the sport. Do you think he knows what he's going to do, Mark?
Yes, I think he knows what he's going to do. I don't think there's any scenario in which he would have told Ole Miss's AD, Keith Carter, I don't think he would have told Keith Carter, hey, I'm going to announce something on this day and not know what he's going to announce. So, I don't think he just picked a day and said, okay, between now and next week, I'm going to figure out whether I want to stay at Ole Miss, go to LSU, go to Florida. He knows. They did their due diligence last week during Ole Miss's bye week. They figured it out. He knows. I assume his inner circle knows. I assume one of these two schools has a pretty good idea. Maybe not for sure, but has a pretty good idea. And I think the other one's probably, sweating it out.
Hoping he changes his mind like
Lane. Maybe. Yeah, absolutely. And that's probably what Ole Miss is hoping for too, that he has a change of heart, that maybe winning the Egg Bowl on the road, getting to, what would it be, 12 wins, 11 wins? 10
wins? Be 11-1 if they win.
Yeah, getting to 11 wins for the second straight year, I think, or at least.
No, they were 10-3, but yeah, it'd be 11 season, first playoff bid, and it's it's a historic season at Ole Miss, and maybe he starts to thank God, do I really want to do this to this program that's given me my chance and embraced me, and it's been the best stretch of my career personally and professionally. So you kind of, as I joke, he'll be at a hot yoga session at 6:30 in the morning Saturday and have an epiphany. But that's the best Ole Miss can hope for. You got to think, right, Mark? If he hasn't come out and just said, look, I'm flattered, but this is where I belong right now. If he hadn't done that, he's leaving Ole Miss. You got to think.
Yeah, I think that was, to me, Carter's message last week was a message to Ole Miss fans. Hey, this guy's leaving, and brace yourselves. You have a week to be okay with it, because we'll be okay. We're gonna find a good head coach moving forward. But I thought this was them letting down the Ole Miss fan base so that they're not shocked when he bails after the Egg Bowl.
So here's the big one not the big one. The big one's what he decides, but how does he announce it? So is he, I was joking around. I think Mark and I were talking. He should get like a skywriter, like the old school skywriter over the swamp or whatever. I'm coming, but, LSU's on the road right there at Oklahoma, so he can't do that for Tiger Stadium. Or, they do the parachuting at the beginning, right? They got the Navy SEALs coming into the stadium, and all of a sudden you land on the 50, and it's Lane Kiffin. Can you imagine the swamp going? I mean, it would erupt. We'd all be having heart attacks in the press box trying to write that scene. But yeah, what do you think? Is he going to tweet it? Is he going on game day? Is he going to announce it on Juice Kiffin? Is his golden retriever going to announce it on his Twitter account with his paw, picking a hat or something?
Well, first things, I think everybody's naive to think this thing's going to hold till Saturday. Somebody knows, somebody's going to leak it. It'll get out Friday after the game, maybe Friday before the game, maybe Friday during the game. I don't know. But I have a hard time believing this kind of news where this many people are involved will hold till Saturday. Now, what I would love to see, and we talked about it last week, is this guy going to do a hat dance? Is he going to pop on Ole Miss, then pop on LSU, then pop on Florida? Is he going to whip out a baby albino gator with its mouth tied? Is he going to have a baby tiger cub? There's a lot of things to do here if you're going to make it a big show. I'm not sure. It seems like I don't want to say he's over the show because I know he likes the show, but something tells me
done with it, man.
Yeah, something tells me this might be a little more demure than what people expect. But again, he's also going to be viewed as the savior of either program, Florida or LSU. They've been awful seasons. They had awful coaching hires. He needs to show up in Gainesville. He needs to show up in Baton Rouge. I know they're playing on the road, but you know what? There's plenty of people who would come out and show up in Baton Rouge for a watch party against Oklahoma if Lane Kiffin was going to be in Death Valley. Imagine him rolling into the swamp. The swamp was a morgue last week against Tennessee. It's been a dreadful place, for the last month. They damn near lost to Mississippi State in that place. It has not been good. USF, Mississippi State, and then Tennessee, not three games anybody's going to want to remember over the course of decades. I mean, who's the guy who picked off the pass against, was it Bet? Who picked the pass off against Mississippi State?
Oh, no, Mekhi Barrow.
Well, Mekhi Barrow will have fond memories of the Mississippi State game forever. But I don't think most people will look at that game and go, Mississippi State should have won. So anyway, the swamp hasn't been like this refuge for Florida fans. I had a buddy tell me the other day, the earliest he's ever left. He's been going to Florida games for 30 years. This is the earliest he's ever left, was in the second quarter. Game was over, get on the road, beat the traffic, head home. So I think Florida needs Lane to show up on Saturday. I think it's set up perfectly. He plays Friday, makes his announcement in the morning, however he's going to do it, release, Twitter, whatever, video, whatever it is, and then shows up in the swamp. I wouldn't be opposed to him doing the Gator Walk. I wouldn't be opposed to him being out there, being Mr. Two-Bits. I wouldn't be opposed to I wouldn't be opposed.
You're setting up fans here or listeners.
That's fine. I'm just saying, if best case scenario, that is best pie in the sky. Best case scenario is Lane Kiffin is in the swamp on Saturday. He's
not doing the Gator Walk on Saturday.
I'm just saying that's best case scenario. And
it would be wild.
Even if you got to introduce him pregame or at halftime, or heck, let him lead Won't Back Down. Let him get out there with an air guitar at the beginning of the fourth quarter and crank on Won't Back Down. There are ways to do this that if you're Scott Stricken, you can win back Florida fans who have turned on you and are ready to turn on this program if they don't get Lane Kiffin. You get Lane Kiffin, take a victory lap. Take it and pat yourself on the back.
You think it's going to be Florida based on all I'm hearing here?
I don't know. I have no idea. I really have no idea. This is the one
I've been giving this way too much thought, man. I mean, you got everything. You should go into
marketing. It's what I've been living for.
Me too, but I haven't thought of Gator Walk and Mr. Two-Bits.
Well, I always think best case, worst case scenario. What is the best case scenario? What is the worst case scenario? Right. And this would be, and I'm just playing out best case scenario would be Lane Kiffin in the swamp on Saturday. we don't get scenarios like this where it's possible. This kind of thing is not possible. Billy Napier played a game, right? He took the Florida job, played a game, and then showed up for his intro press conference. This is not that. This is a scenario where Lane Kiffin's going to play a game on a Friday, is making an announcement on Saturday. Like, it just seems too perfect for somebody not to figure this out if he's coming to Gainesville. And I would try to do the same thing if I was at LSU's.
But they are,
in their shoes. They're at Oklahoma, and I get that. They'll have a good fan base there, but they still got plenty of people who would show up for a Lane Kiffin rally hours before that game in Oklahoma.
Okay, well, let's shift for a sec. If it's not Lane,
Oh,
no, if it isn't, and the list is as long as my arm at this point of people's names that have been floated. Do you have just look? We're not going to break every guy down.
no, I'll go two. I'll just go two. I think if it's not Lane,
Yep.
my guess is it's either Tulane coach John Summerall
I like
or Washington coach Jed Fish. That's
Okay.
it.
I
And
think
you can sell both those guys. I think one's a much tougher sell. I think John Summerall as a Sun Belt coach from the state of Louisiana to replace a Sun Belt coach from the state of Louisiana is a hard sell. And that is a big-time gamble. But I think Fish is a little bit safer of a gamble because, he is a Florida guy. You don't typically eat your own. He wears the visor. He's a Spurrier, idolizes Spurrier, idolizes the state of Florida, has ties, coached it, went to Florida, coached at Miami, coached with the Jags. So, again, I think those are your guys.
Well, he's a offensive guy too, where Summerall is a defensive guy. And if you're thinking offensive guy with tons of upside, young, dynamic, successful, with some ties to this state, having coached at FSU, Jordan Travis, Coach Bo Nix at Auburn and Oregon, I believe both, maybe. Kenny Dillingham. For some reason, his name just started kind of bumping around my head yesterday. No idea if there's any traction there at all. I'm sure he's someone who was on their early wish list beyond Lane. But Lane's the focus. Maybe Florida already knows it's getting him or not getting him, and you just can't really tell. I saw Scott Stricken yesterday at the press conference and just kind of, went out to use the restroom, but not really. Just to say, hey, Scott, been trying to give you a wide berth. Not really much to say, and just wished him luck. I'm not saying looking on edge, but he's wired. This is a huge week for him, for this program, for its future, particularly coming off what we saw Saturday night, which we're going to get to now, a complete and utter collapse. The worst half of football I've seen played in the swamp by the Gators ever. They're down 31-0 at halftime. 4 straight possessions, Tennessee scores. At one point, Florida's down 21-0, and it gained 1 yard at that point. And just prior to the third touchdown, you're introducing Urban Meyer between the first and second quarter of the game to honor him after you'd already dishonored him for 15 minutes of horrible football. And the response was fairly lackluster. It was okay. They announced he will go in the Ring of Honor, long awaited, long overdue, you could argue. And the response wasn't great because I don't know that people were expecting that. We certainly weren't in the press box. No heads up on that, thanks Steve McClain. Who mishandled this thing entirely. But they unveiled a plaque prior down by the Bull Gator in the southwest corner outside the stadium near the bricks and all that, next to the Tebow Promise plaque. And great heads up on that too. So they really did it up for Urban, and they go out and lay that egg. It was a debacle on every level. I don't know what else you say. This is the worst game I've seen Florida play. And you can say the Missouri game, they were down 20-0 at half, not 31-0. Lost, they were down 42-0 at one point, but it was a weird night with all kinds of returns and pick six and scoop and score. This was just Tennessee lining up and just executing play after play with machine-like efficiency, and Florida not being able to respond in any way. So maybe I summed the whole thing up. I think that's my take on it. What do you got?
I don't have a lot to say. Tennessee was ready. Like, that's what my takeaway was. Tennessee was ready. There's Joey Aguilar doing the Gator chomp. He came back out, went in the locker room, came back out to, you can see the swamp's empty there. But, really, 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 they worked this one with the fans. They thought they had a really good contingent there. He comes out. He's going up and down doing the Gator chomp to the fans. Josh Heupel came back out to thank the fans. They talked about it ad nauseum. They talked about it leading into the week that, hey, this was our opportunity. It's been a long time since Tennessee's gone down to the swamp and won. 2003 was their last one, and they embraced it. And I give them credit for that. I think a lot of coaches would have said, hey, this streak is not on you guys. This is not about what's happened in the past. It's not about what's going to happen in the future. It's not about this. This is about what happens right now, right? Let's win this game, worry about this game and this game only, and not let the past affect us one way or another. That is not the approach they took. They took the approach of, your coaches haven't won here. Your fans haven't won here in a long time. No player on this roster has won here. This team has owned us. And it was real. Like, they felt it. They came down here and did something about it. And again, to their credit, they also saw a wounded dog, right? And, they're putting it out of its misery a little bit. But, that's where that was. So, I think it was probably Tennessee felt like long overdue. And obviously the situation was right. Yeah, and the situation was totally ripe for them to come down and do something about it.
Well, Wesley Alden, our faithful producer, has that picture up of DJ Lagway on the left and Joey Aguilar on the right. And that's what I want to touch on that for a second, Mark, the contrast in quarterbacking was alarming. You were seeing a guy who's just polished, efficient. No, he's running a much better offense, right? He's got just a full complement of playmakers around him. Tennessee ran for 248 yards. It makes it easy to quarterback when you're just have, the defense on its heels all night. But man, Joey Aguilar, I'm not like sitting here and, trying to be, I always joke George Whitfield, right? Because he's the one quarterback's coach I know, but not trying to be an expert on like quarterback play, but when you watch him and the way he is settled and he fundamentally sound ball coming out, squared down, and it's just great. He's 8 for 8 to start the game. It might have been even better. At one point, he was 8 for 8, I think, through 2 series, and 6 for 6 maybe on the first one. Whatever it was just machine-like efficiency, to use that expression again. He finished, his numbers were fairly modest, 17 of 22, 104 yards, a touchdown. But it was just a masterclass in quarterbacking, I thought, early on, just to get Tennessee up and rolling. Meanwhile, DJ, he gets sacked in the first play, I think, right, for 4-yard loss. He's just jumping around. He's never settled in the pocket. Some of that's on the offensive line and stuff. But it isn't like he didn't have a run threat. Jaden Baugh had a nice night, and DJ actually ran the ball pretty effectively. He had a really nice run, a 38-yarder where he spun and fought, and he's showing some running ability that he hasn't. That's showing that he's healthy, and that's something to build on. There are some things here maybe to build on with DJ there, but man, he has got so much work to do this offseason to improve his mechanics, his accuracy. When you watch a guy like Joey Aguilar, who's pretty much a pure pocket passer with some run ability, this isn't Trinidad Chambliss or Marcel Reed, who, lit up the Gators, but also did it in a little bit of a different way. You're just going, man, that's what a quarterback's supposed to look like.
He's broken, and I'm not sure he's fixable. The guy can't read a zone defense. It's very simple. Teams that like Ole Miss, not Ole Miss. The losses start racking together here. Ole Miss. Ole Miss came out and played some man-to-man early on and then switched to zone, and that, kind of stymied DJ last week. Tennessee came out and just straight up cover 2, zone, and DJ struggled all night against it. That to me is like, how is this kid not figuring it out after 3 months of work? How's he not figuring out what he needs to do against the zone defense? Because that's what he's seeing primarily. And meanwhile, Florida plays all zone. They're playing a lot of shell, cover two high safeties, and it's a light box, and it works great if you can shut down the run with your 4-man front. But when you're missing guys and
17 missed tackles in the first
missing tackles,
I mean, Billy Gonzalez, I will give Billy credit. He does not come sugarcoated. He comes out and he doesn't rip his team, but he points out, we missed 17 tackles in the first half. You don't got a lot of coaches coming out like saying that, right? They don't want you to know. Yeah. And this is a guy, Billy Gonzalez, again, I said it the other day, Mark. I mean, he's seen it at its running at its best, its peak efficiency. And now he's watching this. It's got to be like hard to stomach for this man.
Yeah, no doubt. My last one is I'm ready for it to be over. We got one more game of this.
I would say.
But anybody with any common sense can look at those two offenses, the 3 offenses. Last week Ole Miss, this week Tennessee versus Florida, and see the difference. Ole Miss and Tennessee are playing beyond the numbers. They have guys lined up 2 yards, 2 steps from the out of bounds lines, and Florida plays everything between the hashes. It's 20. It brings in 22 guys into the box. It gives you this tight formation, and there's no space. I don't understand it. Billy Napier might be able to draw it up and explain it a little bit, but he's never once convinced me that it was the right thing to do or a smart thing to do. And when you see Tennessee, the highest scoring team in the SEC, right, one of the highest scoring teams in the country, you see them using the entire field and going vertical and go to wide and spread you out and run in the open space. Ole Miss did the same thing. Spread you out, take shots deep. They really make you defend the entire field. Florida doesn't do that. And it's awful to watch. And it's more awful to watch when you're watching the other side of the ball have success doing it the completely opposite way. I'm sure Billy Napier had a plan, and I'm sure his plan works if he's got a dominant offensive line and a accurate quarterback. But man, the last 2 weeks are just damning evidence of how poor the whole thing was set up.
Check your cell phone. We got the least anticipated UF Florida State game since last season, Mark, coming in. 8 combined wins. No, I said that last night to Land. They liked that one. 8 combined wins for the second season in a row. This used to be like one of the biggest games in college football. I watched this when I lived in New Mexico for years. This was just an incredible game. You go back and look at like Bobby Bowden's track record, Mark. We were looking at it the other day, right? Guy, my Lord, that program was up and running. He won 10 games in a row, like 13 years or something. They won 10 of 13 bowl games, and the 10 wins were all in major bowl games, except one was like a Bluebonnet Bowl or something. Or no, it wasn't Bluebonnet. It was some, whatever bowl. But anyway, I mean, that was just a program. He beat Spurrier more than Spurrier beat him. But Spurrier was putting an incredible product out, as we all know, too. And now it's this. It is just 2 programs struggling. Mike Norvell, they gave I won't say it was a vote of confidence. They basically said, we're keeping you 1 more year, figure it out. We don't want to pay you 50 whatever million is basically what that was. But I don't know. I mean, there's pride, there's relationships, and there's a rivalry. And it will be senior day. So there are still some stakes, but man, this is not many people are going to be tuning in outside the Sunshine State for this one.
Yeah, and that's fair. That's why one of the reasons I think if you could get Kiffin to the Swamp, you would have people, and you were able to announce it Saturday morning, you would have people scrambling to get to Gainesville to this guy's Elvis, right? This guy's that kind of aura, that kind of juice, and so that would help. But listen, beyond all that, Florida has some things to play for. Not only is it the final game in the Swamp, pride at stake. This is a real rivalry. I think the Tennessee-Florida, you and I talked about this, Tennessee-Florida had lost a little juice. Georgia had become a bigger game, but Tennessee-Florida dominated the 90s, partly because of where it was on in the schedule, right? It was early in the schedule, so it was the first kind of big matchup, Florida versus Tennessee. The winner won the East so many straight times. It set the stage. So now with the calendar, where it's at in the calendar, took a little bit away from it. Obviously, Alabama is a bigger rivalry. Florida, Georgia is a bigger rivalry. So Tennessee, Florida's kind of lost its luster a little bit. I think, Florida dominating the series the way it has really since 1990. I think it's what is it, 28-9.
Yeah, but they only won 3 times since 2004.
Yeah, exactly. So all of that kind of takes away a little bit. So I think you're not taking away from this thing. These teams fought last year in Tallahassee, even with their crappy records, right? They fought. There was a flag planting. Norvell was angry after the game. He brushed off Billy Napier because of this flag planting. George Gums and who told George? Yeah, but somebody, the D tackle, Caleb Banks, told George Gums to plant the flag. Caleb tells us yesterday, that was me. That was my idea. I told George to grab the flag. I kind of felt bad after because George got jumped, but it was Caleb Banks' idea, plant the flag. So it was payback for the previous year where Jared Verse came in and did their, Florida State's got their sod cemetery. Jared Verse came in with a shovel and is cutting out grass right in front of Florida's end zone, like right before the end zone to Florida's locker room. And it was very more than contentious. It was
offensive.
Yeah, well, the police got involved and tried to break up Jared Verse doing their thing. Talking about, the police officers, Gainesville police officers who were getting paid probably overtime from UAA, but they're talking about, whether that's destruction of property and whatever. It was all ridiculous. It's, So
it sounds like you have some optimism on Florida's side.
I do. I think Florida's got a lot to play for here, and they want to they know Florida State's coming in, trying to become bowl eligible, and Florida State wants revenge for last year's flag plant at Doak Campbell. So they want to prevent a flag planting, FSU getting to a bowl, and another sod cemetery. So plus senior day, plus Billy Gonzalez. I think this guy's well-liked in the program. Not revered, but well-liked. Everybody likes Billy Gonzalez. Nice guy. They want to get him a win. Guy's 0-4 as interim. They want to get him a win. So some of this stuff is real. How long it lasts? Who knows? Urban Meyer spoke to the team in the locker room last week, and I thought that would do something. And I blinked, and it's 21-0. So sometimes that stuff lasts about as long as, the opening kickoff.
So Caleb Banks is a native of Detroit who went to Louisville and transferred here. And he's like, when I was at Louisville, we played against Florida State. It was like, oh, okay, it's Florida State. When I got here, it was just like Florida State, we hate them. I'm like, okay, we hate them. All right. So it started slowly building and building up and building up. I'm just like, I don't know why I hate them. I just hate them. Caleb Banks was good yesterday. And got to give him credit. He came back last week after playing just one game and 31 snaps at LSU. And yes, there's some personal interest and considerations because he wants to kind of get going and start moving toward his NFL, workouts and Senior Bowl and all these things. But he also said, look, man, if I can play, I'm going to play. These are my teammates, my brothers, as they like to say. We've been through a lot, and he's not just going to sit on the sideline and check out. I will say my reason for pessimism, though, is I think he might be the exception and not the rule. Are these players, the minute things start going wrong and you're not fully committed and there's nothing to really play for, it can start snowballing. We saw it at Kentucky. We saw it this past weekend. Ole Miss, Florida did play well and played hard and just couldn't do it. Georgia, likewise. I think, to your point, they probably won't do that against Florida State. But still, I wonder if things do start snowballing. The other thing is you got a coaching staff, a support staff. You got a lot of people in that building, as we've discussed many times. These people are thinking next steps. They need to be. A lot of them have families. I mean, every one of them has bills to pay, as all of us do. And if you don't have a job, you don't have a job in a week because it's over this week, right? I mean, I guess they have contracts through whatever, January 31, a lot of them. But nonetheless, I mean, you got to get a job. And you need to know where you're living, and you got to move and do all these things. So you're talking to people. You're looking for jobs. You're not completely 100% grinding 12 and 15-hour days like these guys do leading up to a game, I would surmise. Plus, the team is just beaten up like few in the SEC, if not any. I mean, more than any. I mean, the injury report list is longer than the Lane Kiffin backup plan list, Mark. But anyway, matchup offense, I'll take that one. Jaden Baugh, 96 yards shy of 1,000 rushing. He would be the first 1,000-yard rusher during the regular season since Mike Gillisley. DeLand product, by the way, just went in the DeLand High School Hall of Fame. Ironically, I was told that last night when I was over there. And Jaden Baugh has been one of the bright spots in this team, one of the few. I mean, he hasn't missed time. He is a fun player to watch, extremely. I tell you, if he gets in Lane Kiffin's offense, I said it on here last week, can you imagine the way he'll get used? His running ability, but also his pass catching ability. He caught a touchdown pass last week. He had a long reception early in the game that was called back because of an Austin Barber hold, who was also flagged for a holding call at LSU when he scored on a long touchdown that could have kind of changed the tenor of that game early. Jaden Baugh caught a touchdown in that game. So he's just a talented kid who's still playing at a very, very high level. And they'd like to, as an offensive line in a program, get him 1,000 yards. It would be a, hollow victory, but nonetheless, it would be an accomplishment. Do you have a matchup defense, Mark?
Yeah, I was going to say, the Gators versus a dual threat quarterback, Thomas Castellanos, Billy Gonzalez raved about him. He's put up some numbers for sure. Some of those came against their lesser opponents. Hasn't been as good down the stretch. And then they got a big-time receiver / tight end in Deuce Robinson. I think he's kind of played both. But big-time receiver down the field, averaging 19.6 yards a catch, 6 touchdowns. This is their guy, right? They throw a lot of balls up for him to go get. You're looking at a Florida secondary that's absolutely decimated with injuries. Looks like they're going to be without Cormani McClain. So all of a sudden they got basically one everyday. Devin Moore is their everyday cornerback who's been there for day one. But their next two guys, Dijon Johnson out for the season, Cormani McClain now it looks like he's going to miss this game. So you're looking at a Flowers will be back there. You're looking at some real inexperience.
Ben Hanks is probably going to get some action. We've been waiting to see him, but he's obviously hadn't been ready.
Yeah, 4-star kid. So, let's see what he's got at this point in the game. Give him all the 1 reps during the week and let him go play. You're not burning a red shirt at this point by letting these guys go play. But you're gonna take some growing pains. You're gonna get some lumps with these guys out there on the field. Even Cormani McClain, we saw him have some growing pains earlier this season. Played pretty well down the stretch, but he had some growing pains early. So that's the big one for me for the defense. Yes, they need to be able to generate pressure. That's helpful. They've struggled against dual threat quarterbacks, so got to look for that. But to me, the real one's Deuce Robinson.
So who has your attention in this game, Mark?
DJ Lagway. Listen, I think the guy has potential. We've seen it. We saw that run last week that you talked about was fantastic. We saw some deep balls against Ole Miss that were fantastic. It's like, whew, man, if this guy could ever piece it together, right? But this could be his last game in the Swamp. We have no idea how DJ has not shared a lot. He's been pretty close to the vest. We have no idea what this kid's going to do in terms of, all this NIL, all this money. He's a big high price tag guy. Is the next coach going to want to continue paying that? Is Florida Victorious going to want to keep paying that? And can he find a better situation somewhere else? Maybe, I don't know. So to me, I just look at this as this could be his final game with Florida, his final game in the Swamp. And so he's got my attention.
Yeah, I tell you, that'd be a sad ending because there's so much, promise for this young man a year ago. He handles himself incredibly well and with us. But it's just been a rough season, emotionally draining for him. And, people can be like, oh, boo-hoo, he's making millions. Well, okay. But he's just turned 20 recently, this at the end of the summer. It's a lot to handle, a lot of pressure. I think one of his teammates pointed out, I think it's Jaden Baugh, just the amount of pressure that he's under. It's a lot. I tell you, if they get Lane Kiffin and I'm DJ Lagway, I'm doing everything I can to stay and be developed by this guy who's been a whiz with quarterbacks, even if it's Kenny Dillingham, for example. I mean, someone who knows how to coach a quarterback and can put you in an offense that take advantage of your skills. You would think DJ would want to stick around. The question would be, would they want him around? On the spot, Mark, I'm going with Scott Stricken. We put him on the spot almost every week this season. And I'm not going to go on and on. We know what's at stake. We know how he's getting a third chance, third bite of the apple, which is a rare thing for an AD to get a third football hire. Dan Mullen was working out until it didn't, and it ended in spectacular fashion and quickly. Billy Napier was a slow bleed from the start. He was his only target. He felt Billy was the guy for this program. Now, he did build the program, as we discussed, in ways behind the scenes that were much needed. And whether it's a player experience or the parking or the food or, whatever, creating a culture maybe that, was good. He brought a lot of impressive young men in. We've talked to a lot of them. There's all those good things, but the football was just bad. It was hard to watch, and it ultimately didn't work. And he left with the worst record since the 1940s. And that's on a lot of that's on Scott, who just, identified this guy. Well, don't think he didn't go out and talk to a lot of people for this job search. Obviously, Lane Kiffin's the main target. If he doesn't get Lane Kiffin, a lot of this is going to fall on Scott. A lot of people are going to be like, what happened? Why didn't you get him? What did you do? It's your fault. When really it's a Lane Kiffin decision, maybe ultimately, and it's nothing to do with what Scott Stricken did or did not do. But we'll discuss that further as we get a decision. And then he's going to have to pivot and pick a guy who he's going to have to convince people is going to be able to usher the Gators back into a new era of winning again. So a lot on Scott Stricken. I mean, I'm sure this guy's not sleeping well this week, unless he knows that Lane Kiffin's coming. Right?
And he might, right? He might.
What's a final thought? Maybe you can play off of that. I don't know what you got.
Yeah, listen, we've been through some crazy coaching carousels. This one's the craziest. It's insane. People are keeping coaches because they don't want to get in this. Florida State kept Norvell really more than anything because it's expensive and there's not a guy, right? There's just not a guy you think you can go get and who's going to do any better. So you wait a year. Maryland did the same thing with Mike Locksley. People thought he was like dead man walking, and he gets another year. Same thing with Wisconsin and Luke Fickell gets another year. Will Mark Stoops in Kentucky do the same thing? I don't know. Michigan State, Jonathan Smith, they've had not a peep out of Michigan State. People think he's done. But again, you better know who you're going to get. And it's a crowded space, and there hasn't been a lot of clarity. We got one hire. Virginia Tech hired James Franklin, right, who was an easy hire for them because James Franklin's he's not going to go back and coach at, he's not going to go coach at Cal or go coach at Stanford. That's, this guy's still looking to be, big time, one of the elite programs. So now when will the dominoes fall? They're probably going to all start to fall with Kiffin, right? And then you're looking at this Tulane open? Does Memphis open? Does South Florida open? Does North Texas open? What happens with
Arizona State? I'm telling you, Dillingham is probably going to be on the move. I'm not saying
and that's possible.
But you hear that it's just too hard to win at the level you want at a school like that, just because of the support.
Yeah, and that's fine. And two coordinators to keep an eye on. Texas A&M's Colin Klein, very well revered guy, and Oregon's Will Stein, I think it's Stein. But those two guys. But it's crazy. It's not as busy as we thought. We were looking at. I think 9 Power 4 coaches have been fired. There are 10 openings with Stanford, where he got fired in April. But and one of them now has been filled. So it's not as crazy as we thought it was going to be when we had 4 or 5 coaches fired in the first month of the season. But there's still a lot to play out, and the dominoes are going to be, on down the road.
Yeah, it is. It's been. Here's the final thought for you.
Yep.
Is neither Mark nor I have really written a ton about this in terms of who's next, what's Kiffin going to do. We've been writing some, but we're not under the pressure of a lot of these message board website, on threes, the 247s, things like that. And I feel sorry for those guys on some level.
Yeah.
Because they are under pressure every day to give updates, and a lot of it turns into speculation. And so this thing changes every morning, right? It's like, what's the, news of the day? And it's not even really probably news, because so much of it is speculative. And then it creates narratives that are just really not, there's no truth to them, right? So you don't even know what to believe. And I'm not sitting here hoping listeners, feel sorry for us, because that's not what I'm even implying. It's just it's head spinning. You don't know what to believe. I mentioned Kenny Dillingham. Mark's smiling, because it's I just kind of, I'm feeling some Kenny Dillingham today. A couple of days ago, it's I'm feeling old Brent Key from Georgia Tech. You're right. It's just, you have.
But the fans don't know what to think either. We go back, you can gauge the temperature.
They're all reading all that stuff, doom scrolling it all day.
Sure. Florida people last week 2 weeks ago, thought Lane was their guy.
Oh, yeah.
5 days ago, LSU was convinced Lane's their guy. Now, today, LSU fans are panicking. Where's the MOU? Where's the guarantee? Where is Lane coming? And Ole Miss fans are the ones who are kind of resigned to the fact that he's gone. But you can't. Somebody's going to be absolutely devastated come Saturday, and it won't have anything to do with on-field results. It's going to have everything to do with this guy's decision.
Here's one thing, too. We'll be a little bit not devastated, but we want Lane Kiffin here. It's good Absolutely. For business. He's entertaining. He's good with the media. He will answer your questions. Maybe you won't always answer them thoroughly or go where you want him to go, but he engages, and, his whole presence on social media, just how unique a character he is. We definitely want Lane Kiffin, right? I want Lane Kiffin to take the Florida job. It would be, plus I don't really want to pivot toward the abyss of okay, who's coming now? Selfishly, right? At least put a bow on that, move on to the next thing, which is going to, be legion. I mean, his hirings, the way he wants to structure things, his philosophy on the portal, on recruiting. There's so many threads to the Lane Kiffin dynamic, or whomever they do hire. But it would be a lot easier for all of us if it's Lane Kiffin. And the fan base, if it isn't Lane Kiffin, is going to be, off the rails, man. So fingers crossed. Thanksgiving week, a lot to give thanks for. And, people are going to be giving thanks or have heartburn on Saturday, depending on what the decision is.
Speaking of fingers crossed, I'm only 3 games back in the picks column.
All right, well, lay it out for us, man.
I went 6-2 last week. You went 5-3.
Ooh, 6
You were
and 2.
49, 41-2. I am 46, 44-2, above 500 for the first time all season. I am within striking distance. We got 10 games on tap. I'm going. I'm up first. Kentucky at Louisville. Louisville -3. I am taking the Ville all day.
Yeah, me too. I mean, Kentucky last week. I mean, what a absolute
abysmal. They won their Super Bowl. They beat Florida. They're done. Number 2, second pick. Clemson at South Carolina. Does that game have does it have a nickname? I don't think it does.
Sure.
South Carolina -2.5. You're up.
I'll take South Carolina. It played better.
I'll take Clemson. Bowl game, big time. Dabo looking to impress to get out. Missouri at Arkansas. Missouri -2.5. I'm up. I mean, Arkansas. My goodness, I'm going to stick with Missouri, even though I think they're frauds.
No, they're not very good. And Eli Drinkwitz, thankfully, by all accounts, has been crossed off the list. But I'm still taking him this week.
Yeah, I still think he's another one who could be moving on. Number 10, Alabama at Auburn. This is the Iron Bowl. I know this one. Alabama -6. You're up.
I'm taking
only
Bama.
6.
I got Bama. I don't think Auburn can keep up, even though they do have this freshman quarterback who looks like he could actually be putting some juice into that offense.
Yeah, but they're going back to Ashton Daniels.
Oh, are they?
I think. Yeah, Ashton
give me
Daniels.
this look like I'm supposed to have kept up with this.
That's all right.
There's an Auburn fan who works out at the gym the same time I do on Mondays, and he's like talking about this freshman yesterday. So he wants him to stick with him.
Deuce Knight. He was fantastic, but it was against Mercer or whoever it was. I'm going to go Bama as well, even though Bo Jackson's going to be in attendance. I'll give that they're going to get the Urban Meyer boost out of that. Not a lot. LSU at Oklahoma. Oklahoma -10. I'm up. I'm taking Oklahoma -10. I saw nothing to make me think that LSU's ready to compete.
Yeah, meanwhile, we saw from Oklahoma, man, that is a defense, man. I mean, it's funny, Mark. Venables was in the same position as Billy, kind of, right? At one point, like, this is the guy working out, and they gave him an extension. Everyone's like, oh, my God, what are we thinking? What you're thinking is this guy can coach defense better than anyone in college football, arguably. Best front seven in the sport. And
they played the last couple of games without their star linebacker and still been really good.
It's amazing to watch him on defense.
You're taking Oklahoma?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Big one to watch. Ole Miss at Mississippi State, the Egg Bowl. Ole Miss given 7.5. You're up.
Ooh, I'm going to take Mississippi State. I'm going to keep it close, keep the drama. What if they trip up the lane train? That would be like crazy. I think Mississippi State's going to play them tough and turn it into an exciting Egg Bowl.
You love your Levy. I am rolling with the lane train. Number 4, Georgia at number 10, Georgia Tech. Georgia -13.5. I am taking Tech here. I have seen enough of Georgia to not trust them, and 13.5's too big a number.
Yeah, I don't think they have the offense, but to just roll them. But Georgia Tech was down 28-0 to Pittsburgh at one point, but fought back, and I'm taking Georgia Tech.
Too big a number. Number 14, Vandy at number 20, Tennessee. You're up. Tennessee given 2.5.
Dude, Diego. Always. Riding Diego.
I'm going Tennessee. I liked what I saw last week. They're gonna stress Vandy's defense.
I'm feeling this could be even after this. The 3 picks who were different on. I like your picks better than mine, honestly.
Number 3, Texas A&M at Texas.
Ooh.
This is a big one. Number 17, Texas. I'm up. TAMU -2.5. Gosh, I really want to take Texas, but I cannot. Elko, I'm gonna take TAMU, but I really think Texas could win this game outright.
Yeah, I'm taking Texas A&M. Texas really disappointed me. I can't remember the game recently where it was like, they're not good at all.
All right, last one. FSU at Florida. You're up. Florida's -1.5. Given 1.5 in the rivalry game.
I'm taking Florida, man. I picked them in the paper again. Why I picked them last week when they're going in that game averaging 17 points versus 40 for Tennessee is beyond me. But I will take them one last time. Final game of the season. Let's see the Gators, show up and win.
Well, I heard Billy Gonzalez told everybody the other day that Florida State could easily be 9-2. So I'm going to go with Florida State. Billy G, riding with you.
Okay, well, Mark, 4 different picks. You could pass me. This could be the equivalent to like that Super Bowl where Atlanta was winning 28-3 and lost. I mean, that's what this has been like. I mean, Mark was in the cellar, and I'm just slow bleed. Okay, real quick, let's wrap up with Foley's Corner. We've gone past their 45-minute goal. Men's hoops traveling to San Diego. What do you got there? You were at Todd Golden. You went to practice yesterday with your boy.
I did. Todd's amazing. Let's us show up at practice anytime. So fantastic. Here, interestingly enough, Todd signed up for this trip to San Diego under the belief that Kansas had committed and Kansas was going to be there. So this was going to be a first-round matchup against Kansas. That's why they did it. It's all about who you're playing, not necessarily the venue. Little disappointing that it's not Kansas, but sure. They're going to get some. This is a good TCU team, right? TCU,
yeah.
A good TCU,
an elite.
Jamie Dixon, and Todd compared them to Mississippi State and or A&M from years past, teams that can absolutely defend you and get after you and turn you over. So they've got to be strong with the ball to get it done. But always like Florida's chances.
Well, spotlight on Xavier Lee. I mean, I hate to put this guy into the spot, but this young man has just struggled. He's lost his confidence. He hadn't had a three-pointer since maybe one against Florida State, but he hasn't been the player they expected or need him to be. Still very early in this season. He needs to find some confidence out there on the West Coast. Florida will play at 3:00 on Thanksgiving Day, and then play the winner of Providence, Wisconsin on Friday, either at 3 or 5:30 p.m. So some hoops, but I tell you, Friday, man, it's going to be awesome, as I said. You get the Egg Bowl, then you get Georgia at Georgia Tech, and then nightcap, Texas A&M. That's going to make anything the NFL is putting up on Thanksgiving Day look unappetizing. Okay, we also have, volleyball lost in the second round of the SECs. I don't know will they qualify the NCAA's? I don't even know.
They will, but they'll be on the road and probably a 3 or 4 seed.
Our women's tennis doubles team that I can't pronounce either young women's names made the semifinals in the NCAA tournament. You can take a stab at them. You're better with enunciation than myself. But that's impressive. You get All-American, I think, for quarterfinals in the NCAA. So All-American doubles team, I mean, something to, build on maybe or be happy about. But both tennis programs are certainly, not at the level they were before under Roland Thornquist, who won at least 3, if not 4 women's championships. And then Brian Shelton, who's now out on the road with his son, Ben, who's having a great professional career at age 22. And then last thing, the women in basketball are 6-1, Mark. They whipped Florida State last week. Liv McGill had 27, she took 27 shots though in that game. She's high volume, and also 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and then her, requisite, several turnovers, but she's a dynamic player. Didn't play again though. Last night, they beat FAU 59-51. I didn't see her in the box score. So I'm not sure what's going on with her. I mean, load management, I don't know. I mean, she's playing a ton of minutes and has a lot on her, but she's an elite player. And for, fans of basketball who live in Gainesville or in the, fringe areas, so to speak, nearby, might want to come check her out at some point this season, because she's fun to watch. And maybe they have something to build on at 6-1. I don't know. The SEC is obviously, a gauntlet in women's basketball. Anyway, thanks for the conversation, Mark.
Thanks for having me as always.
Also want to thank our faithful producer, Wesley Alden, for her continued efforts. There's Juice Kiffin. Go give him a follow. I tell you, I'm ready to meet Juice, and I'm a big dog lover. But you can bring Coco along. Everyone have a nice Thanksgiving. The three of us appreciate everyone who took time from their busy lives to join us. This will be the only pod this week, by the way. So until next time.
Thank you for listening to Swamp Things, your Florida Gators podcast. For more coverage, visit OrlandoSentinel.com and APnews.com. On Twitter, follow Edgar at OS Gators and Mark at AP Mark Long. Please subscribe to this podcast, share it on social media, and review it on iTunes. See you next time.